standing here 30 years later. I loved my job working at the Capitol. I had two great mentors, Dale Schultz when he was in the Assembly, and then State Senator Dick Krull. Very different personalities, but very shrewd politicians and very smart guys, and I learned a lot from each of them. I enjoyed every day going up those steps at the Capitol and considered it quite an honor to even have a job working there. But I had spent a lot of time working on creation of the law and meeting with people from both sides of the aisle, at the local level, at the state level, and I understood that that's where I needed to be at that moment in time. And what a privilege it is and a rare opportunity to be able to start a state agency from pencils and desks to computers to policies to working with people to get them to understand. I don't care if there were 3 members of the Ladies' Aid Society that wanted me to come and speak to them. I'd be there and I'd talk to them about the Riverway. Part of that was to combat a lot of the misinformation, the birth of alternative facts as it related to the Riverway. But we did that, and I think it paid off in the long run. While many people have a life list for birds, which certainly I do too, I also have that rare opportunity to have a life list of Wisconsin river bluffs. And there are very few on the 92 miles of the river, on both sides of the river, that I haven't been on. I was thinking the other day, I was preparing some of the remarks, that I'd be hard pressed if I could even name a half a dozen. I'm not even sure I could do that. So that again is something that I will always treasure and remember about this job. Not to mention the opportunity to be out there in a canoe or a motorboat, or to guide the Voyager canoe trips, and to see these beautiful sights, the bluffs, the emerald-bound shores, the eagles, the sandhill cranes, the deer, the otters, the beavers, the muskrats, and all the other wonderful flora and fauna that we have. This does not come by just one person alone. So I have to thank my family. My son Samuel was supposed to be here, but he was also struck by illness. He had to share his dad with the Riverway. I would bring him along on field inspections when he was just a little tyke. He's been canoeing. We still do the annual Wisconsin River Canoe Race together. He has helped me on mounds maintenance projects. And so, Sam, if you were here, I'd say thank you for sharing your dad all these years. And my partner, Terry, stand up so people know who you are, please. She also had to share me on many night meetings and where are you going tonight? And in fact, we were talking on the way up about, well, this week I've got Lions Club, Voyagers Club, Riverway monthly board meeting. And she said, okay, well, I'll see you next week then. My brother Richard and his beautiful wife Debbie are here. And Richard has been a very important part in helping me with different projects on the Riverway. And we've developed a shared, deep, and abiding respect for the Indian mounds of the area. And we work together on mounds maintenance. He serves on the board of directors of Cultural Landscape Legacies, of which I serve as president. And their daughters have also helped us out on many of these projects. So I'm very thankful to have such a supportive family. So now we're going to get to a little more of the interactive part of the program. First, could I have all the current and former members of the Riverway Board please stand up? Thank you so much. I tend to be the face of the Riverway and the Riverway board, but it's these people that serve on the board. When we started this, and Dale, I don't know if you remember this, when they were brokering the deal in a conference committee for the budget in which the Riverway law was initially rolled into. And Dave Prosser was there, and I can't remember, it was Gary George or somebody on the Senate side. Dale said, we want to get $50 per diem for the board chair. And I went down there, and David Prosser would see me coming. They're talking about grandiose issues. Here comes Cupp talking about the Riverway and $50 for the board chair. I'd track him down in his legislative office, and many of you may remember, Dave was kind of a hoarder. You kind of had to walk through all the books and papers. And well, the end of that story is started off with per diems of $25 per meeting for all board members, plus mileage. 2019, $25 per meeting, plus mileage. As Ron Lay says, it's easy money. So I appreciate all the sacrifices that have been made by the current and the past board members. Another person we're missing today is my longtime assistant, Marcia Curtis. She had a long time scheduled vacation. So she is out in Las Vegas with her family, but she said, please tell those in attendance that she's here in spirit and she really appreciates the 18 years that she's been with me on the Riverway board. So that's an important part of the success of the Riverway as well. Now, November 1st, 1989 was the very first Riverway board meeting. Now, is there anybody here other than me who was at that meeting that'd like to stand up?
No.
I know. I know there's a few. Thank you, Don. Well, Bill Lundberg served on the board for many years, including several years as board chair. I remember when Bill decided it was just time to stop traveling from Wisconsin Rapids to Muscatine at least once a month, and in the winter not fun. And that was, I think we came up with, I don't know, how many tens of thousands of miles, Bill, did you travel?
20,000.
Yeah, 20-some thousand. And we miss him today. He was a tremendous board member and leader. Bob Carey, who was on the board until just recently for a second stint. So, you know, Bob is one for abuse when he comes back for a second try. So Bob was, again, one of the original members, served for many years, and then when Nick Nice from Grant County had to step down due to some health concerns, Bob was willing to come and spend some more time on the board, and we appreciate that very much. Are there people here that served on the Citizens Advisory Committee or the Local Officials Advisory Committee? Well, I know Bob, you can stand up again. It's okay, we're going to keep you awake here. Spencer is on the CAC. So think about that, is that Citizens Advisory Committee started in 1983. Spencer Black was on that prior to being elected to the legislature, and Bob Carey was village president in Blue River and started off on the Local Officials Advisory Committee. And as I mentioned, came onto the Riverway board. The success of this project does not happen without the cooperation of the landowners. So how many current and former landowners in the Riverway do we have here today? Please stand up so you can be recognized. You know, I did a short interview with WRCO Radio in Richland Center last week to publicize this event, and said, If it weren't for the cooperation of the landowners, we would not have a Riverway project 30 years later, because these are the people that now have to go through a permit process. When I initially went to meet with maybe a third or fourth generation farmer in 1991, and said, you now have to get a permit to cut a tree, I was not very popular. But as we demonstrated that the Riverway law mirrors sound forestry management practices, people understood that it wasn't a burdensome or onerous set of regulations. What we were trying to do is work cooperatively and protect something for future generations. And farmers, they are forward-looking people. They're people of faith, because you plant a seed and you hope for a crop. You have your children, you hope that you can raise them on the land. And I think after a while they began to understand that this wasn't necessarily a bad idea. Bill Wanick, my old neighbor down by Port Andrew in Richland County, was on the Citizens Advisory Committee. He was initially opposed to the Riverway law. By the end of that process, he was one of the big supporters of getting something done. And that's that wisdom and vision and understanding what we're trying to accomplish there. And we also have all of these NGOs, non-governmental organizations. The major one that's here that has helped us quite a bit are the Friends of the Lower Wisconsin, but also we have the Ferry Club Eagle Council, the Wisconsin Green Fire Organization, the Aldo Leopold Foundation, Sauk Prairie River Pal, Crawford Stewardship Projects, and others I'm sure I'm missing. So anybody affiliated with any Riverway related NGO, please stand up and be recognized. Thank you all so much. We also then have some people I work closely with that often are the unsung heroes. Any of the current or former Department of Natural Resources employees who worked on the Riverway, please stand up. I was very happy to see my friend Bill Carlson here today. He was the original DNR Riverway forester. We hiked on a lot of these bluffs together, have many stories of being out down at Wyalusing State Park when it was 20 below zero, looking at a pine plantation. And I always videotaped our field inspections to take to the board, as Bill and Bob remember. Not that day, video camera, no work. So thank you to all the DNR folks here today. Recreational users. Whoever's here that likes to paddle, kayak, canoe, motorboat, fish, bird watch, hike. If you love the Riverway, please stand up. All right. Excellent. And also all the local officials, business people that are here, thank you so much. When I think about this gathering today, and you could just feel all the love in the room, and I think that's very important, because what we need in this world is more love and less hate, less vitriol and more compassion. And it begins with each of us to reach out a hand of kindness and try to make the world a better place. So we can take that message away as we're driving down these beautiful highways and byways, looking at these bluffs, maybe seeing the eagles or the sand hills, and think about what we individually can do to make this world a better place. Now, if you've ever heard me speak about the Riverway, you know that I cannot leave the podium without at least giving you one Riverway quotation. Yeah. And I thought this would be an appropriate one because August Derleth, Wisconsin's most prolific writer across a multitude of genres, was from Sauk City and wrote about this riverway so eloquently. And this is from his seminal work on the history of the Wisconsin River, the Wisconsin River of 1,000 Isles, from 1942. Spotted sandpipers haunt the shallows. The heron's drowse where once the curlews flew, crying wildly, where parakeets once made tropic color in the river bottoms, where the sky was darkened by the clouds of passenger pigeons in migration. Possums, raccoons, the foxes, the minks, and otters still inhabit the Wisconsin shore. The barred owls make their cacophony of cries suddenly in the twilight and the dark. But the bears are gone, the buffalo that once roamed its shores, the timber wolves, all are gone, and the lynx going, thinning before the white man's coming. In the lowland places along the blue waters, the golden prothonotary warbler nests in the spring. The pileated woodpecker challenges man with its proud, fierce cry. Hawks wheel and soar upon the air currents, magnificent as ever. There are aspects of wilderness still, at its headwaters as well as near its mouth. In the wooded islands, the hill slopes, the forest country, and a kind of nostalgic wildness in its name, Wisconsin. Its waters rising in a country of evergreens, birch, aspen, oak, and ash, flow into the father of waters among honey locusts, chinkapin oak, black maple, and sycamores. Once these were forests reaching skyward, and they are only now beginning to come back. Something starting over, something coming again, as if time were turning back to say that the prairie grass, the oak groves, the wilderness will return, not remnants of past time, but reality once more, to erase the way the Indians went, and the trappers, and the miners, the raftsmen, and lumberjacks, the pioneers. Thank you all for being here today. We don't want any hors d'oeuvres or any cupcakes left, so please help us out on that. Cash bar remains open. Go, Pack, go!